All right, welcome to a live episode of Mike's Money Picks. If you are watching us today, we are going to be doing a college football best ball draft, and we have a special guest joining us. We have got Josh Chevalier of Fantasy Points, one of the premier college fantasy football minds in the space, and he is going to come here and draft a team with us. You guys know by now, like if you've been watching the show for years, you guys know I don't bring a guest on if they don't know ball. I don't bring a guest on if they're not going to provide something quality to the stream. So, Josh, really happy to have you here. Really think this is going to be a fun draft.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm interested to see. It's been about a week since I've drafted on Underdog, so I'm a little afraid the ADP has shifted quite a bit since the last time I was on. So this is going to be an adventure.
Yeah, I was actually on vacation for the past week, so I wasn't doing any drafting either. I did one today to kind of reacclimate myself and see where things are at. There's some things changing for sure.
Well, what's changing? Let me know.
So the biggest thing that I noticed was quarterbacks are moving up. Like it's starting to look
Okay.
more and more like 2024 where people are really in a rush to take quarterbacks. And I think it's just that super flex format is kind of making people scramble a little bit. But, you know, it's to be seen. I think if you have a good plan, there's plans for going quarterback early and there's plans for waiting on quarterback. But definitely they're going a little earlier than I would have preferred.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is interesting, trying to teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak. It feels like early in the offseason, we were able to push quarterbacks down a little bit, but no surprise. I've even noticed, even before like a Devin Dampier, Damon Williams, these guys are going in the second round or the back of the first, even for like a Damon Williams. I've seen a few times, and that's just not happening in traditional CFF best balls. So it's always fun to get in here and to see how different influencers are shaping things in different ways, and I think
For sure.
quarterbacks is definitely one of those ways.
Yeah, especially because, like, I feel like this summer it's finally become like the in vogue thing for websites and like content creators to actually get into college football best ball this year. And so
Yep.
I definitely think the infiltration of like other people who maybe aren't as familiar with the college football space, it's definitely changing some opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point with like quarterbacks, like that's a type of position that is always going to get elevated, particularly again to your point in a super flex, where people maybe they're not as familiar with how deep it can be. I mean, I will say like, look, my favorite drafts have been the ones where I've had 4 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds, um, and so I was already going to be aggressive on quarterback as far as in the first 10 rounds. So it'll be fun to see kind of who's going where and to be able to talk about, all right, is this a guy that you would want to take in the
Right.
top 2 or 3 rounds, right? Or is that just bad value?
Yeah,
Because there's
because
guys that were going later that I really like.
well, and there's so many times too where you're kind of conflicted with that decision of like, oh, there's this running back here that I really like, but if I don't go quarterback, am I going to be behind? Like it really does like invoke some decision making now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking about a guy like Kevin Jennings, like there's like the tier of like Kevin Jennings, Austin Jones, Marcel Reed, they were all going 5th, 6th round early on, and then they started creeping the 5th, and now they're the 4th. And I'm
Right.
curious to see when we draft today if they're even going in the 3rd round because the trajectory was just so steep.
So the
Um,
one I did earlier, like Hoover went at the end of the 3rd, Kevin Jennings I think went in the 4th. Like you're definitely seeing him move up.
yep,
And I ended up kind of inadvertently going wide receiver heavy in that draft just because I really felt like that was where the lobby was taking me.
yeah. Who did you go?
So let me see if I can actually pull it up. Um, let's see. Is there a way to sort by date? Maybe not.
Yeah,
Oh, this was it right here.
yep.
So I was in the 7 spot, started with Sellers. I kind of feel like that mid to late first round is where I like taking those
Yep.
quarterbacks in the first. Simmons in the 4th, and then I waited a while and got Morton. But in
Mhm.
round 2, I want to say it was between Singleton and maybe Devin Dampier that I was deciding between, and I went with Singleton. I really
Yeah.
wanted to get Katron Allen to kind of have that stacked up, but he got sniped from me. So like
Yeah.
as you can see, like I really just had the wide receiver value fall to me in this draft. I really ended up liking all the wide receivers that I ended up picking.
Yeah. I mean, I love those wide receivers. You can see you got a pretty balanced lineup here too, right? Like you have good QBs, good running backs,
Yeah, I
good wide
didn't feel like I
receivers.
got really behind any position, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, even like Kevin Coleman, Kevin Coleman in the Debbie space. Sorry. You got not Kevin. Well, you do have Kevin Coleman, but I was looking at Jonah Coleman
Yeah, I got both Colemans.
earlier. Yeah, you got both Colemans, team name there. But yeah, Jonah Coleman at 31. I mean, I guess that's right around where ADP is. But even earlier in the offseason, you're getting him in the second round. I guess those quarterbacks are pushing hit a guy like that down who could have a
Right,
lot of
because
value there.
it's drafts kind of have gravity, like what goes up must come back down. So if
Yeah.
somebody's going up, there's got to be somebody else coming down.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead now. And if you're watching live and you want to draft with/against us, go ahead and join a lobby. We're going to be doing a Best Bowl Mania draft. It's the $10 on Underdog. And we have got 3 of 12 spots filled. So plenty of opportunities for you guys if you're watching to join us and draft with us. Which, speaking of which, we got some activity in the chat. We got my guy Cam. What is up, Cam? Glad to see you tuning in. Happy to see you tuning in. I know Cam's a big college basketball guy as well as college football guy. So glad to have you here, Cam. And yeah, Cam says Dampier went 3 in my last draft yesterday.
Wow.
That's not something I would do, but it doesn't entirely shock me.
Yeah. He's definitely a favorite of some in the DFS space. Like this is like essentially what you see with best ball, right? As far as Underdog goes, is you see this confluence of the CFF space, which is primarily all FBS, right? And then you also have the DFS guys who are playing every sport, but they're also really good at college football, and they'll enter into a lot of these. And those are the guys that will push up a guy like Devin Dampier because of what he did last year, because of his potential as a dual threat. But we'll talk about this later. But there's some guys I even like 8th and 9th round that I think can give you similar value to a Dampier, because there is inherent risk in a guy moving from New Mexico to Utah.
That's another thing I was going to bring up. Like, I can't think off the top of my head of a whole lot of transfers of G5 to P4 where like the success was instant and equal to what they were having at the G5 level. I just can't think of a whole lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the quarterback position. This was our fear with Cam Ward a few years ago, when he moved up from an incarnate word to Washington State. And that's when they really were like a true P4 team. And it's not that we didn't think Cam Ward was talented. Of course he's talented. He just went number 1 in the draft. But
Right.
like, hey, that's a steep jump to make from the FCS to the P4. And I think New Mexico is closer to that FCS range than the P4 range of G5. And so I do think that there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. He does have his OC that he's going with, similar to Cam Ward at Washington State.
Yeah, that was another thing. I feel like those guys that are moving up, it partly depends on the system too. And you know, you can make the argument that that is a really good system for Devin Dampier, but the schedule is certainly going to be much more difficult than what he played. Like, you know, we like to make fun of Big 12 defenses, but like it or not, they're better than Mountain West defenses.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you also look at Kyle Whittingham, and he's got a preference of pace that he wants to play at and style, and it's going to be a little bit different than what Beck's used to. Jason Beck's a guy that likes to go fast, run a lot of plays, and I'm curious to see what that marriage looks like. And like part of what happened in New Mexico is he was playing with one of the worst defenses in all of FBS. Well, Utah is not going to be that way. They're going to probably be at least a top 40 defense, right? You know, really annually a top 25, top 20 defense. So that's going to limit the opportunities and plays that they're going to run. So, sorry, I'm not trying to dog on Dampier, but
well, yeah, it's not dogging on him. It's more so to say that like, hey, like he's going at pick 20 right now, and maybe the guy that picked him number 3 in Cam's draft was getting a little bit overboard.
Yeah, exactly. And if he went above a guy like Sellers or Klubnik, right? That Manning, those are the ones that were like, all right, this should probably be consensus top 3. But again, whoever picked, if Dampier does what Dampier can do,
Mm-hmm.
score 35 points a game because he's just, breaking the system with his dual threat abilities, then I'll look like an idiot. So here we are.
Well,
Not hard to get me to look like an idiot.
so while we're waiting here, let me ask you this: if you have the 1-1, who are you taking?
I'm either gonna go Desmond Reed or Darius Taylor
Mm-hmm.
personally. I like Darius Taylor a lot, but Desmond Reed. I think Desmond Reed has a little bit easier of a path to repeat his production
I agree.
than Darius Taylor. So I understand. I mean, obviously ADP is higher than Desmond Reed. I have Darius Taylor higher, but that's just because I fall in love with my guys, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
on Darius Taylor. He was a top 40 Debbie running back for me when he was a true freshman before he'd ever played a snap. So this is a guy that I really like. So I'm
Well,
going to be partial to him.
another thing too with Taylor, like the one thing that I tend to fall in love with is the insert team name, insert position name, right? So like if I
Yeah.
just had Minnesota running back, no matter who it is for the last 5 years, we're talking from Mo Ibrahim right into Darius Taylor, like that's just a very, very good and productive role that just it seems like no matter who you put in that role is going to be good. But oh, by the way, the guy that's in that role is also really good at football.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you drafted from several different positions in these drafts so far?
So I don't have it written down anywhere, but I believe I've done 9 total best bowl manias. I think. I
Uh-huh.
know I picked from the first spot, and I did take Darius Taylor. I know I picked from the 12 spot, and I got to tell you, I actually don't mind the 12 spot this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 12 spot this year for me feels like a spot where if you get super lucky, like the nuts would be having Sellers or Manning fall all the way to you. That didn't happen for me, but like
Yeah.
you can pick up 2 elite running backs usually at that 12 spot between Love, Edwards, Hughes, Brown, and I don't mind Claiborne and Hankerson in that spot as well.
Yeah.
Those just feel like really solid. Like you can really start off with some good running backs.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get into like conference preview season, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and then with that diving into like schedule. So I just did a conference preview of the ACC yesterday. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like diving into the schedules more than I even typically do. And I mean, you look at a guy like Damon Claiborne, and they might not win a lot of games, Wake Forest, but he's got a really easy schedule. So a guy like that, it can be attractive.
And if I'm not mistaken, too, didn't at media day like Dickert say something about
Yes.
claiming like 40 carries a game, and like I remember the look on Clayborn's face, just like okay,
Yeah. And this is a guy that last year proved that he could do that, right? I mean, I think to end the year, he had like 20 to 25 carries a game in those last 4 or 5 games. Um, so he's a guy that can handle it. Man, love that kid, man. 10,600 meter
hmm
at 205 pounds. I mean, he's got a pretty nice size speed combo there. And then you have a guy like Isaac Brown, right? That can fall there. Dylan Edwards is one of my favorites. I think he's one of those candidates to end as the RB1, even though he's
hmm
so small. But we've seen small Kansas State running backs throughout the years be really, really good in CFF. So, um, yeah, he's another one that I love getting at that range. Just because you just can't get him at the end of, on the turn in typical CFF drafts. So some of these guys
right.
just feel like great values to me.
Yeah, that's another thing that's interesting is because I know you do a ton of the Fantrax best balls.
Yeah.
You do the Champions League, you do the ones with Carp, so you're used to these guys going in totally different spots. Is that something you find kind of difficult to adjust for Underdog, or does it feel like easier because it just feels a little softer?
It's an adjustment, right? I mean, I
hmm
think it's just drafting different, right? It's like poker, right? You're
hmm
not only playing your hand, you're playing the hands of the people around you. So it's a different game. I would say it's messed us up a little bit in the Champions draft. But we'll talk about it. Like QBs were flying off the board
Right.
quicker than they usually are. Like we were fading them early on because you should fade QBs in all FBS. But here it's like, nah, like you got to get 3 or 4 by the end of the 10th round, or you're gonna be sitting there and I think depending on what your strategy is, you go, you want Lenore Sellers and other drafts, so
hmm
you can wait a little bit. But I'm a guy that typically the first 2 rounds I'm going running back.
Don't
So
mind
I
that at all.
need to have at least three quarterbacks to make sure that I'm, you know, getting guys that are going to score and produce every week. So,
Yeah,
who are some of your favorite picks so far that you're getting in these drafts?
so I'm kind of cheating here, but I'm gonna name a combo, and it's gonna
Yep.
be the two Iowa State receivers.
Yeah.
I've drafted a ton of Sowell. I have drafted a ton of Xavier Townsend because look, this is a team last year that they had Higgins and Knoll accounted for about 60% of their targets, about 60% of their production, and they've got to replace all that. Right? They're not going to instantly turn into a team that's going to be running 50 times a game because they couldn't run it last year and they didn't do anything in the portal or add anybody to make me think that they're going to turn into this running team, right? So they're going to have to throw the ball to their receivers. And now I know that you could argue here and there about how the target share is going to break down, but the bottom line is if Sowell and Townsend have to account for Higgins and Knowles' roles, that's tough to say, then you're going to end up with a ton of production out of both of them.
Yeah, and one of the things that I discovered this offseason is that Rocco Becht and Xavier Townsend have a relationship from high school. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that. I knew that Becht was Anthony Becht's son. That was my the limit of my knowledge about him, though.
Yeah, so both of them are from the Tampa area. So they played against each other in high school. They actually talked about playing together in college, and I think it was at Iowa State, if I remember correctly. And then Xavier Townsend chose to go to UCF, and Rocco Becht obviously went to Iowa State. But when he hit the portal, Becht recruited him to come over. So it's one of those things where you hear about that, and you go you remember this from a few years ago, and I don't remember what the combination was off the top of my head, but it was the Purdue wide receiver that transferred from Iowa, and the guy was the quarterback at Purdue was they were high school teammates or something, and nobody knew it until they played together. And then it was Charlie Jones, I think it was the wide receiver from Purdue.
I think it was Charlie Jones. Yeah,
and it's every broadcast oh, these guys know each other from high school. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Cam. And it's oh, if we would have known that before the season, we would have been
drafting Charlie Jones,
right? Yeah. But he didn't. He was a 12th round pick. So it's that little stuff with Townsend, right? You got it with Isaiah Horton and Ty Simpson. They were 7-on-7 teammates in high school.
No, that one I did know.
Yeah.
I still have question marks about how the target share is going to break down in that offense. But Horton's definitely not going to be a non-factor in that offense. If anybody thinks that Horton's just going there to do cardio, that's not going to be the case.
Well, he got offered $1 million to stay at Miami.
Right.
And chose not to. And so they got plans for him, and he was great in the spring scrimmages. Multiple touchdowns and multiple scrimmages.
Which kind of brings me to a side point. I have not been drafting a whole lot of Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
Maybe call me a hater or whatever, but I kind of think that he's a little bit overrated because he had one really cool catch and run against Georgia.
That was a really cool catch and run, though.
It was. It was. But, I think that when you look at what he did last season in totality, there were some big games like the Georgia game, but there were some games where he also disappeared. And you're also getting them, Jeremy Bernard is not a complete non-factor, and then Isaiah Horton's not a complete non-factor. So I just worry about drafting a guy, he's going at 12 right now. I worry about drafting a guy in the first round that has that many question marks on him.
Yeah, and I like Ryan Simpson. Right. Yeah. Ryan Simpson?
Ryan Williams or Ty Simpson?
Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
What am I? I have a friend named Ryan Simpson. I'm that's not right. Ty Simpson. I like Ty Simpson some, but I'm not completely sold on him. Right. And so it's is he gonna be the guy? And if he's not, can Keelan Russell or
worries me a little bit
take over? Yeah. So I just get a tiny bit concerned. Not with Horton or even Bernard because they go so much later. But if you're going to spend first round draft capital on a guy that's going to have a new quarterback, that can be risky.
Well, the thing that I kind of keep thinking back to is There were a ton of Alabama fans and Alabama people that wanted Milroe to like get benched last year. They were kind of tired of Milroe. That everybody was ready for kind of a new era to start, and the coaching staff never felt compelled to put Simpson in and like give him the reins. And so to me, I don't know if I would say that's a red flag, but it's certainly not like not encouraging for Simpson that they weren't eager to give him that job.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Again, not that I have a lot of Simpson shares and best ball, and so I'm not out on him. But there are question marks. If there wasn't question marks, he'd be going a lot higher in drafts.
Right, absolutely, because the Kalen DeBoer system just is great for quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
where are you at on Cam Coleman?
Cam Coleman, I have him. Let me take a look. I have him as my 5th receiver, 19 overall in my ranks, and his ADP is 24. I like Cam Coleman a lot. I think that so it kind of boils down to quarterback play. I kind of think that, let me put this nicely. Auburn made Peyton Thorne look better than he actually was, and he still didn't look that good. And I think that now he's getting Jackson Arnold. Like, that's an actual legitimate dude at quarterback. And Auburn's schedule is not super tough. And I think that there's going to be games where they're going to get in these shootouts, and I think that Coleman's going to have a ton of volume. And then, oh, by the way, he's super talented. Like the talent stands out when you watch him play.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy. I don't know what his ADP is right now. Maybe you can pull it up. But
24.
I mean, I've seen him drop in that 3rd round, and that just feels like gold if you're drafting on the front end, and you're able to get him there in the top of the 3rd round. He's a guy that I love to see there, because you look at this last 3 or 4 games of the season, he averaged like 25 fantasy points per game, and 2 of them were SEC opponents. So yeah, he's a guy that the talent is just unbelievable. He's kind of a little bit different than Ryan Williams, where I'm like, I don't want to touch Ryan Williams at 12, but if I can get Cam Coleman at 24, Eric McAllister, if I can get him in the 3rd round, back of the 3rd round, preferably, like stack the Hoover, McAllister, and
right.
Those are teams that I really like.
Yeah, everything's kind of relative to cost, right? So like when I say I don't like Ryan Williams, it's not like I'm saying that if I'm picking at the tail end of the 2nd round and Ryan Williams isn't there, they're not going to take him. I just don't like him where his ADP is. But Cam Coleman, I do like where that ADP is. And when I was drafting earlier tonight, the guy that had the 1-1, I want to say he took Desmond Reed, and then at the turn he got Cam Coleman, and I'm like, that's a pretty solid start.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember the other guy he got. Might have been Joyner. I think it might have been Joyner. But I'm like, that's a really solid start if you're able to get those 2 guys at that turn. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's when you're drafting the front end of the draft, you can get a lot of those guys. I'm an Ahmad Hardy fan.
Same.
Quentin Joyner. I like both those guys, because the thing with Quentin is I like him because even though, I mean, he'll probably be the guy, but even if he's not, you can get Jacoby Williams at the back of the draft and handcuff it and have that Texas Tech backfield. But there's options. I mean, there's a lot you can do at that turn that has some sweet guys there.
For sure. And it definitely feels like to me like there is a fall off from the top of the 3rd round to the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So it is nice to have that early pick for that luxury. So to kind of keep the people updated, we are still waiting on 6 people. I guess it's too late in the night for people to be drafted, even though it's only 10:26 here on the East Coast. I say the word only very liberally there. So if you're watching and you want to draft against us, go ahead and join the lobby, join a Best Ball Mania, and you'll be in here with us. If you are watching us also, if there's a specific player that you guys want us to kind of talk about while we're waiting, or a specific strategy you want us to talk about, put it in the chat. Like, let us know, because we'll be more than happy to talk, because it looks like we got still a little more time to kill.
Yeah, these things, finding the ideal time to get in one of these drafts is tough. It feels like it's like the middle of the day while people are working or should be working.
Yeah, because nobody wants to work. They just want to draft.
Yeah. But yeah, man, you find like late afternoon, late night, early morning. Um, yeah, it's just tough to find
Yeah,
to
I'm
get things
very
to
much a
fill.
late night guy. Like, I do pretty much everything after my kids go to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very much like, because I have two under two right now. My
Yep.
daughter is about to turn two. My son is almost 3 months old. And so we're very much like all in on them while the day is going on. And then once they're asleep, it's like, okay, now it's time where I can do some stuff I want to do instead of, watching Paw Patrol
Yeah.
or uh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Or making sure they don't escape from the house. I
Right.
guess two, two, man, you got to always have eyes on that. Three
Oh
three
yeah.
months old, I'm sure they're hanging out in a chair
Well,
somewhere.
the sad part today was my 2-year-old. So like she she's like talkative. Like she will just like talk your ear off. She loves repeating what we say. And I had settled my 3-year-old down and like put him in his chair like he was taking a nap, right? And I'm like, okay, I got a little bit of time here where he's napping. Maybe I can relax a little bit. And then she runs over to him and is yelling, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." I'm like, no, absolutely not. You cannot wake him up.
Yep. I've been
And it's
there.
like, oh, it's like,
It's like
and
this is
she
precious
immediately,
time right now.
yeah, she immediately was like, "I'm sorry, Daddy." I'm like, why would you accept it? But dang, don't wake him up.
Yes. Yes. That's amazing. Oh man. Oh, those are fun ages. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Oh yeah, because I know you got four, right?
I got
Am I
four,
right on that?
13
Yeah.
to 13 to 4. So we just got out of diapers. So we're
Mm-hmm.
pretty pumped about that. Um, but man, we're ready to just have kids be a little bit more independent.
I get that, and I know you've gone it for more than um more than we have so far. So yeah, I absolutely get that. I know when my 2-year-old, when we're able to give her household chores, we're gonna be happy
Yeah. Yeah,
because
for
there's
sure.
just so much to do. Okay, so we got some questions in the chat. So the Bama QB situation. So we were talking about it a little bit, right? Where we're not 100% sold on Ty Simpson. So do you think there's a chance that Keelan Russell could unseat Simpson by the end of the season?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you see a loss or two, I mean, why not go to the future, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Keelan Russell is certainly the future for that program. They have very high hopes for him,
Oh yeah,
and uh, why not do that if you lose one or two games? The
right.
problem is so many people have Bama ranked really, really high, and
Mm-hmm.
there's high expectations this year. So they may not be quick to move on, but again, I'm not sold on Ty Simpson, and if he's not the guy,
And
then you better figure that out quickly.
I say this so sarcastically, but Alabama fans very used to losing, very good losers, very rational people that are totally willing to stick with a quarterback, right? So I absolutely think that if it goes south early, it could absolutely be Keelan Russell time. So let's see what we got here. Says Fantasy Football Garage. By the way, he is doing NFL best ball drafts almost on a nightly basis. Go check his channel out if you have not. He says, any big rankings movers? So the one guy that I'm seeing, I need to sit down and redo my rankings here soon to kind of adjust for these new ADPs. But the one guy I'm seeing fly up at the running back position is Gideon Davidson.
Yeah,
It just seems like as the training camp is going on, as people kind of get more and more acclimated to this college football season, that everybody's not sold on Adam Randall being a running back, and it seems like Gideon Davidson is going to be the future. How do you kind of handicap that situation, Josh?
yeah. I mean, I want somebody to talk about me the way that Dabo Sweeney's talked about Gideon Davidson
Right.
since he signed him. I mean, the guy loves him. He compares him to future ETN, other guys that have
Mm-hmm.
worn the number 9 jersey. That's what Gideon's wearing. Um, Look, I'm biased because I've been on Gideon all off season.
Mm-hmm.
I've got more shares than anybody in the CFF space on Gideon Davidson. So, but I'll tell you what. I mean, he's moved up into the 10th round essentially in
Yeah.
ADP, and that's a bit steep for a guy that we don't know is going to start. Um, and so, like, I think it's one of those things that sometimes people take things further than they probably should because they get
Mm-hmm.
excited. And Gideon Davidson is one that I would say, man, yeah, it could work out. But this isn't Jeremiah Smith, right?
No.
This is not DeCorian Moore, where there's this just total clear path to playing time. It's not even Trevion Henderson from his freshman year. So I think Gideon's good. He did play at Liberty Christian High School in Virginia, which is very low end Virginia football. Virginia
I was
football is
going to
not
say they're
good.
not like a big powerhouse or anything like that. He looked like a middle schooler playing against fifth graders in his
Yep.
highlight tape.
Exactly. So I do think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve there. So I think he probably takes over, 4 or 5 games in, probably the lead back. But I, taking him in the 10th round, there's other backs I like there.
Yeah. So now I think this is an interesting discussion as we're waiting on only 3 people now. Jeff says, how do you adjust your values of ranks for guys from teams that have 3 buys? So Josh, I'll get your take on this. My only adjustment is I'm not necessarily adjusting their rank, but I'm being much more cognizant of who I'm drafting with them, because I know that if I'm depending on Rocco Beck to be one of my top quarterbacks, then I know I need to be very careful about the quarterbacks I'm drafting with him so that I don't end up in a situation where all my quarterbacks have those same bye weeks. So that's the only thing I would say is it's just a heightened awareness when I'm drafting those players.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not drafting like Sowell and an Edwards together that much. Both of those have 3 buys, and they're guys I like a lot. But I'll avoid Sowell if I got Edwards. If I didn't get Edwards, and I'll go after Sowell. But I think like this idea of like dropping players because of their buys, I think that's how you get value. A good friend of mine, JD Yankee, talked about RJ Harvey last year. He fell because he had a week 12 bye.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward fell because he had a week 12 bye. And it's like, well, those guys were great values in these drafts.
Yeah, last year I was doing the week 12 bye thing. I wouldn't say that I was like fading guys that had the week 12 bye, but my thinking was, oh, if I'm super aware of not drafting these week 12 bye guys, I'm going to have a leg up in week 12. And it's not really how it went, because when you got to week 12, you just had to have the guys that went off, whether they were on a bye or not. Like a guy playing a game and scoring 8 points isn't a whole lot more useful than a guy who had a bye. So, like, I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Milrow that had the big Week 12 game last year where he played LSU? Do I have that timeline
so.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, even though, like, if you drafted guys with Week 12 buys or you drafted guys with 3 buys, if you had Milrow, you were getting a leg up on everybody else. And I feel like maybe my memory's hazy, but I feel like Cam Scattaboo had a big playoff week as well where he just dominated somebody.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is fuzzy to me now, but that sounds right. I mean, the guy had some huge
so long ago
at the end of the year. So, he had that shoulder injury at one point where Kyson Brown came in, but I don't know if that was like week 9, week 10, but he came back and had some good weeks.
So we got a question here that, Josh, I think you might have a good answer for. It says, how do you recommend someone that is not up to speed on all college teams go about drafting without knowing a ton of info? I'm pretty knowledgeable on ACC and SEC teams, but not in the loop at all.
Yeah, I would say, man, find a good set of rankings out there. They are out there with CFF, whether it's like Fantasy Points, Fantrax has some, and I would also I will say, shameless plug about Fantasy Points, we do have free ADP on the site, and that can show you where guys have gone outside of Underdog. And I think that, and you can sort P4 and G5, and that can tell you a little bit different how people have drafted differently outside of these drafts, and get a little bit of an idea of where guys might go. So that's what I would do. I mean, look, it is a little bit easier because it's P4 and you're not diving into these like G5 schools. So most of us have a decent knowledge. So Philip, man, and also like if there's guys that you love or teams that like, man, stick with that. Like there is some advantages to having deeper knowledge of certain conferences too.
I would agree with that also. To kind of piggyback on Josh's point, there is a lot of, if you're willing to do a little bit of reading, there's a lot of guides out there that can give you a lot of information without a whole lot of effort. Josh's website, well, not that you own it, but the website Josh works for, Fantasy Points, they have a free guide that breaks down the top players at each position, Great read, 100% free. Go check that out. But also like the CFF site, Campus to Canton, they all have their preseason draft guides. And really with Underdog just being P4, like you don't need to know the Akron wide receiver 3 to be good at these Underdog drafts. Like for the most part, these teams are in the spotlight. Their depth charts are available online. There's a lot of free stats online. If there's anything you want to know, if you're willing to put in the effort, you can find it. But also, there's also a whole lot of people who've already done the effort. And so, going out and finding a good set of ranks or finding a good draft guide, I think is a great place to start.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead.
So Philip brings up another question here. Should just kind of stick to ADP and use common sense? Yeah, that works also. If I'm not mistaken, the winner of Best Bowl Mania last year, like, I don't want to use the word chalk, but like there were not a whole lot of like big discrepancies in where he was drafting guys and where the ADP was. Like it was a kind of a very reasonable lineup. Like it looked like one that could have been drafted any day, and it just so happened to just hit the nuts on the right weeks with the right players.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Philip, if you go back and look at again that winner, right? Almost all the guys that got really far had John Mateer and Tyler Warren.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do those guys represent? Tyler Warren comes in. He's at Penn State, traditionally great tight ends, but they all usually have two of them. Well, there's only one of them that year, and Tyler Warren was that guy, and he just took off for that job and was just at the tight end position, was an outlier. And then you had John Mateer, who was in a position battle at a place that had produced well in college fantasy football before. And so he dropped. He was around 1080p. So I would say, just looking at that, where there are advantages or loopholes in this is where there are position battles at places that have traditionally had good CFF production. So an example of that would be maybe this year, like an Oklahoma State. Could be a team with either Haas Haney or Zane Flores. They're going at the end of drafts.
Very end of drafts.
Yeah. So, and then, but it's finding those type of situations, right? Where there's position battles, where there's advantages. Gideon Davidson, Adam Randall, that's another one, right?
Mm-hmm.
These guys there's a reason why they're values, but if they hit, they're going to be amazing. I saw a guy that you drafted, Mike, earlier, Duke Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Watson's a guy, he's a backup, but if Isaac Brown gets hurt, which he did twice last year, woo, Duke Watson might be the RB1 in CFF. So there's guys that are
hyper efficient when he played too.
Oh, like the dude's incredible.
I want to say it was like 9 yards a carry. I'm not like, I don't have the stats memorized. I'm not an encyclopedia, but like the dude was just ripping off long runs like nobody's business.
Yeah. All right, where are we drafting here?
We got a lobby, and we have got pick 3.
Cam, we'll get to your question later. I liked your question about stacks.
Yes, stacking
you don't need
is going to come up for sure.
Yeah. And season long, though, you don't have to stack too much.
So now, pick 3. So if we're trying to plan this out a little bit, do we go with our guy Darius Taylor if he falls to 3?
I mean, I'm always taking Taylor if he's there.
That's what I'm thinking. And judging from, where the ADPs are, how everything's looking, there is a chance that he could fall to us. Also, it is not letting me star him. I don't know what is wrong with my computer.
Classic. My boy JD, who I work with at Fantasy Points, is the 1.1. So I think he's a Desmond Reed guy, so he'll go Desmond Reed, I'm sure. Maybe already did. Jeremiah Smith. Yeah. I'm cool with whatever you want to do. If you like Taylor, let's go.
We'll go Taylor. We talked about earlier how we would take him at the first overall pick, and we got him at 3. That's good value right there. Really nothing shocking so far. Like that first 5 is probably how I would have it. I think you can make the argument for Jordan Tyson in that top 5, but it's been for the most part how I would handicap it. Also, this wakey guy, I've seen him in a lot of drafts.
Yeah, I mean, he's a DFS
I don't know if he's
guy.
watching or not, or if he's a guy that's in the space, but he's been in a lot of drafts of mine.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good DFS player. He'll probably go quarterback here.
Mhm.
Likes to hit that position early. So we'll see what he does.
So interesting point here says, "Hey Mike, going to be weird drafting against you off your own rankings. Haven't updated them for a couple weeks, so it might be a little bit different. Best of luck though in here at 11." Yeah, that is going to be interesting. But yeah, like I was saying, with me being on vacation, I haven't had a chance to update these rankings, but probably going to go in and do that this weekend. So yeah, so nice to know we got somebody in the chat that is here drafting with us. That's pretty cool. So now we're kind of getting the situation like we were talking about earlier, where the back end of this first round still has a lot of really good picks available.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting Isaac Brown and Mekhi Hughes, or even a Ryan Williams, who we talked about before, but Claiborne, Hankerson, I mean, those are all great values.
They are. And I'd be like, sitting there at 14, you got Hughes and Hankerson. I don't really think you can go wrong with either of those.
Nope.
And DeMond Williams, I don't
Those are
think
good
it's a bad
values.
pick there either. High upside quarterback. Okay, so now
Yep.
it's going to come back to us. Do we want to try to get a quarterback or just kind of see what the board gives us?
I mean, what do you feel? What do you feel most comfortable drafting with? Do you feel most comfortable if you're able to get a quarterback here and then play it best available,
So
or
here's
what's your
what
strategy usually?
Here's what I do think sitting where we're at. I don't want to take Robertson or Levitt at the start of the third round. Right? So if I can get a Dampier or a Haynes King, well, never mind. If I get Haynes King, maybe, then I think we'll roll the dice on Haynes King. But if not, I would feel pretty good taking one of the top running backs right here.
Yep.
Okay, so we got Haynes King. That's good. Now I'm going to kind of put in the queue. My two guys from this spot will be Coleman and Joyner.
Yeah.
If they fall to us.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, there's so much good value. We talked about this, but in this 1.3 spot or in the third spot, like, man, there's so much value at the beginning of this third round.
Okay, so if it falls back to us, would you prefer Hardy or Cam Coleman?
I mean, that's a tough one. I would probably say Hardy because I would like to get two running backs
That's
within
what
the
I'm
first 3
thinking.
rounds. Yeah, I mean, if we would have gone quarter, yeah,
he
there we
got
go.
taken from us.
All right, here we go.
All right,
Decision
Cam
is made
Coleman
for
it
us.
is. And so now I still feel like there's plenty of running backs we can get, but I would have very much preferred to have Hardy there. I agree with you. I think I really like the idea of having at least one quarterback and at least one running back through 3 rounds, and preferably 2 running backs.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things too, when you like a guy like so well, like you do, you can get him at value in 5th or 6th round, and he's a top 10 wide receiver to me in all of CFF, right? All FBS, not just P4. So yeah, that's the type of guy that I would like to get a little bit later in lieu of that. But man, you can't. One of the things I think this reflects what you did earlier. Well, we just went running back, quarterback, and wide receiver, right? Which gives us a lot of flexibility moving forward. And
Correct.
I think there's a good advantage to that.
And the funny part is too, it's like, now obviously not all 12 of these people are watching us, but it's almost like the draft room opened right up for what we were talking about earlier with how we like Darius Taylor and how we like Cam Coleman. It just seems like it was almost too perfect for that to line up for us.
Yeah, for sure. The gods were in our favor today.
So now if we're looking at what's likely to be available to us, we're going to be picking at 46. Yeah, 46. So if we want to go another quarterback, maybe Austin Simmons.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to take any of those other guys at 46, though. I would see if they would fall to me a little later.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and you got Caden Lee in your last draft
as a potential
too,
stacking partner. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did kind of the exact same move, except I want to say I was picking like 4-6 instead of 4-9.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a really good beat writer for Ole Miss named Stephen Willis who thinks that Caden Lee is going to lead the SEC in receiving.
I mean,
him and Austin Simmons are best friends. So it's interesting.
if Trey Harris stayed healthy, he probably would have.
Right.
Like, that's a very wide receiver friendly system. So now we don't have to worry about making that decision because Simmons just got drafted. But yeah, I could absolutely see it. All right, so now looking at the board, we don't have Simmons anymore. Is there a running back that is left that stands out to you?
I mean, I like Kamari Moulton. I mean, that Iowa system we saw, they produced over the years, right? And Caleb Johnson just this last year was really good. I do think Wayman Jordan is a good running back from USC. He just went, so never mind.
He did just go.
But
I like Moulton as well, and I think that's the pick here. You agree?
Yeah.
Let's go Moulton.
Were you going to talk about Justice Haynes at all?
I like Haynes. I do. Yep. I just think that, like, Michigan, they're going to run the football. It's what they do. And the schedule is not that bad this year. And I think Haynes, I really thought he was more talented than Jam Miller at Alabama. And he just never really broke through. All right. So now, looking at 51, do we want to take our second quarterback here? We got Reed and Moore there.
I like Reed personally, just because if you go back and you look at his, but if there's somebody else you want to pick, we can pick them too.
Let's do Reed. I'm good with it. He was he was super low in my rankings because that's where he was being picked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
but he's moving up the boards, rightfully so, because he is a dual threat. It's going to be year 2 in the system. And, Texas A&M, they're a team that people have high expectations for. If they're going to win 9 or 10 games, they're going to have to score some points to do so.
Yeah, I mean, and they bring in Concepcion, right, from NC State, who's a heck of a slot. Mario Craver, outside speed demon. And then you got Terry Bussey. I mean, you got 3 wide receivers that are going to get separation on the routes. That's exactly what a guy like Marcel Reed needs. And, I mean, this is a guy that last year essentially was almost a guarantee to get you 25 points a game.
Right. And it was almost all legs.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think Marcel Reed, who knows what he'll be as a pro quarterback? I don't really care. Dual threats, Konami code quarterbacks are the way to go in any of fantasy football.
Correct.
And
especially college fantasy football.
Yeah, and that's what Marcel Reed is. Who cares about what he's going to be as an NFL prospect?
So one of my guys, it would have been a miracle, but Sowell could have fallen to us. He just got taken. For the most part, nothing's really been shocking so far. The quarterbacks are going about as they've been expected to go with their new elevated ADPs. There's not anybody that looks like is coming to us with a super ADP value just yet.
Yeah.
So now that we've got 2, 2, and 1, we've still got some positional flexibility here. I like Kyson Brown if he falls to us, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too much. What would you think about Emmett Johnson right here?
I think him and Kyson Brown are very similar, right? And as far as what they're going to give you, they're pass catching backs. We saw Emmett Johnson end the season well. Kyson Brown did well with his opportunity. So I would be fine with either one of those, really.
So my thinking with Johnson, now I might want to start thinking about a backup plan here if he gets taken. But my thinking with Johnson is that offense just looked better once Holgorsen got there.
Yep.
And they elevated him to full-time offensive coordinator, year 2 of the Raiola era. I just see them being better offensively, and Draftmaster Flex must have thought so as well. All right, so now we got to think on our feet here. Do we want to go? Actually, I tell you what, I like Josh Cameron, but I'm open to suggestions.
No, I think Josh Cameron's great here if he falls to us.
Okay. Yeah, don't want to take a tight end yet. Sadiq's gone. Yeah, let's go Josh Cameron. Now, Pavia would have, if he had taken Josh Cameron, I actually would have thought about Pavia. So we actually used to have a joke in our Discord. Whenever it's Tuesday night, play Diego Pavia. Because when he was at New Mexico State, he was the best DFS quarterback for a whole 2-month stretch. So I'm forever partial to Pavia, and I think that he would have been a solid pick there. But with having 2 quarterbacks, one thing I noticed when I looked at the data from last year was that actually taking that 3rd quarterback was kind of overrated.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Um, how would you feel about Kevin Coleman here?
I like Kevin Coleman.
Okay,
So
let's
I'd
do
be
that.
totally fine with that.
Let's do that. And now we're kind of ahead at receiver a little bit, which I like. Because, like, honestly, the seventh round is a weird round to me right now. Because you get
Totally.
like you can just see my rankings for some of the guys that are going here. Like Jaden Ott, I have no desire to draft at all. I haven't drafted him at all this year, and he goes in this round according to ADP.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is a weird, hole here. This is actually where I like to go quarterback
I agree.
because of that.
If we didn't have two already, I would have strongly considered Julian saying at our spot with Kevin Coleman.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jackson Arnold's going a little bit, after this, but still, like, I mean, you're talking about a guy that, like, if he hits, I mean, that Hugh Freeze system is awesome.
So I'm actually going to star Arnold, and if we get a miracle and he does fall, we get a stack with Arnold and Coleman.
Yeah.
So not getting my hopes up, but I'm going to put him in the queue. Other than that, it's getting dark quick here.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, there's some running backs I do like in this range.
Are there any
like
that stand out to you that we should take with our next pick? I kind of like Dylan Jones. Do you have anybody else in mind?
No, I'm a huge Dylan Jones guy, and he's a guy that I'm willing to reach on a little bit if we have to, because the kid was awesome in high school at breaking tackles, and contact balance is one of the things I really look for in young running backs. And he has it in spades, and now he's 205 pounds. I mean, that's 25 pounds more than he was in high school. And he was they had, I think, their first day of camp today. The standout that was mentioned is Dylan Jones.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm worried that JD Gars right here is going to take Jackson Arnold in front of us. I'm worried about that because he only has one. Yep.
Yep. You nailed it.
So, yeah, so we can go ahead and get Dylan Jones here. I think that's the move because it gives us our third running back. I think he's definitely the best running back available. Davion Gauze, I love the role, right?
Yeah.
But you talk about a guy that had a bowl game to where he could really impress some people and like inspire some confidence heading into 2025, and he did not.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to evaluate him. I think where his ADP is, I think is fair because he's just a tough evaluation.
And I think it's interesting. Like, is he that much better than Ben Hall, who transferred there from Michigan? I don't know.
Right.
He could be. I mean, there's some stuff that he flashed in the other start that he had, or the game. He had another game where he rushed for 100 yards, but I don't know. It's question marks for sure there.
So now that we're getting down to this pick, do we want to go ahead and go with our third quarterback?
I mean, we totally can. Yeah, him or yeah.
Let's go drones. Okay. Go a little off the board here because by my ranks and by ADP, it would have been Beck. But I like the idea of, since we already missed out on Soul, that's kind of like Beck's one of those guys where I really like him stacked. Yeah. And so I actually have a lot of him already where he's stacked. And so I wasn't really just super hip into drafting him there where he would be unstacked with Soul and we would have to late stack with Townsend. But Drones, like we've been talking, is another one of those mobile quarterbacks that can just generate fantasy points in a hurry.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's the type of guy that you want as your third quarterback, right? The type that can get 35, 40 points in a game. Is he going to be consistent? Maybe not, but he'll have some of those spike weeks that you like to see. I mean, there's a guy, Taylor Green, that's going like 5th, 6th round ADP in these drafts. Why? Because he had a couple 40-point games, and like that matters in this format.
And really, that's all Green was good for last year. Was like once they got down to the meat of their schedule, he was not a guy that you were wanting to play. But because of what he did in early season, he was still a guy that added some value on your roster.
Right. And I think with drones here, right, and the reason why we can pick him is because both Reed and Haynes King were incredibly consistent last year. So you have these high floor guys that can also hit these spike weeks, and then you got drones to fill in the gaps there too.
So now I'm starting to add some guys in the queue. I don't think Colin Lacey is going to fall to us, but I do like him a lot.
Yeah, me too. I personally think he's gonna be the wide receiver 1 at Louisville.
I do too.
So I mean, we're getting the we're getting the wide receiver 1 for Jeff Brom potentially in the 10th round. These are
Yeah.
the types of things we were talking about earlier, where there's a position battle, uncertainty. Well, these are the types of guys that can really spike and make a difference in this type of format.
So Lacey, like, he didn't play much last year because he ended up redshirting, but like when he was out there, he was a focal point of that offense. And to
Yeah.
me, that's enough for me to think that, okay, yeah, that's a guy I want to draft. Well,
There we
Blue
go.
Blood UNC wanted to draft him as well. So now, what are you thinking right here, Josh?
Well, I mean, I think we could go Gideon Davidson, like you got marked up there. I do like JoJo Trader.
Well, there he went.
Okay.
That guy knows ball. So
yeah. So maybe I mean, we could go Gideon here. I don't know.
So this is the one where by the construction of our team, I like Davidson more than a different setup that we might have, right? If we didn't have 3 running backs already, if Davidson was going to be our third, I probably wouldn't want to pull that trigger. But since we already have 3 locked and loaded on guys that ironically are all on Big Ten teams, it gives me a little more safety that if Davidson doesn't pop right away, maybe he's more of an end of season guy, kind of like a Bijan Robinson freshman season. We got guys that can play running back in his stead.
Yeah, and you're not worried about the early part of that schedule for Gideon because you have these other 3 running backs. But he's a guy that could hit, right? Where Dylan Jones is going to have a tougher schedule on the back end. Davidson could step in and really be good there.
So as it's coming to us, do you have a strong opinion on any of these top receivers?
I mean, I like Darrell Gill. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 at Syracuse, and I think that's a system that obviously produced last year.
Let's do it. Yeah, because that's definitely a team that's going to throw the ball a ton. They showed us that last year. Now, that brings up another interesting point. Do you have a strong take on their quarterback battle as it stands?
I mean, I think it's going to be Angeli. Ultimately, I think he's a guy that just gives them a safe floor, and to be able to repeat what they did last year, I think it allows Ricky Collins to, continue to improve and get better and learn the system. Angeli's an older dude, so I think it's going to be, Stephen Jelly personally, and I think that makes
agree with
some
you.
great fantasy names.
And Jelly always, he was never like the most talented guy at Notre Dame, but he had poise.
Yeah.
Like the bowl game he started, he impressed me before Riley Leonard transferred in. And then to come in the middle of the game against Penn State and lead a drive for a field goal in a 2-minute drill, like, I think he could be something. And I will add also, I think if there is a 2025 version of John Mateer Zevi Eckhouse from last year, I think it could be Syracuse.
Yeah.
Where like last year, it would have been optimal to draft Mateer and Eckhouse and just guarantee that you're going to get one of them right. And, obviously it ended up being Mateer, but like it made just the winner of that quarterback battle was going to be so good that it just made sense. They just go ahead and take both of them.
Yeah. People are so scared to do that because they don't want to waste a roster spot, but it's like, if you wasted a roster spot on Washington State, you win.
Right.
So,
right.
Some things it's like, just don't overthink it. There's handcuff or you got to handcuff.
So now, good time to have this discussion. Are you a big fan of punting tight end, or are you kind of rushing to take one?
No, I'm not rushing to take one. I mean, I've taken them all over the place. I like guys like Elijah Lofton, just because I know who to pair him with. But man, like, there's a lot of value. Like Jack Veiling,
I like
a really good tight end there, right? Sam Roush later on. I like Seydou Traore, who you can go with Sam Roush and pair them together. There's just a lot of flexibility on the back end that you can do. Olsen Pat Henry, there's just a lot. There's a lot of good talent at the end. So sorry. Yes, the answer to your questions. Yeah, I don't mind doing it at all.
So like the one absolute I have drafted on in best ball drafts this year is only 2 tight ends. Yes, absolutely not taking another roster spot on a third tight end. I just don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a complete waste of a roster spot to do that for sure.
So now, as we're looking, do you have any strong leans at running back?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I love some of these later running backs. So Jordan Lyle is a guy, again, another guy that, like, man, Fletcher's probably gonna be the starter, but Jordan Lyle, if he takes over that running back room, if something happens to Fletcher, oh, yeah, you
I
just
just
took
went
him.
ahead
So
and added.
then he could absolutely like smash. He's like my Debbie RB 2 or 3 overall. So I just love the talent. He's 210 pounds. Average 7 yards a carry. He's another Duke Watson-ish. I'm not quite as efficient as Duke Watson was last year, but so yeah, I like Lyle in that range.
So your guy Yonkers took Velling. That was going to be my next recommendation. But are you cool with taking Blake Shapen here?
Yeah, we can totally take Shapen.
I just think you get a guy that Jeff Lebby system. He's going to throw it all over the yard. Last year, he was effective when he was healthy. So if he can just give us a full healthy season, and even if he doesn't, we got 3 really high upside quarterbacks in front of him.
And he's easy to stack later on, right?
Yes.
Either with Anthony Evans or Brendan Thompson. I'm not, I'm unsure of who the wide receiver one's going to be there, but I think one of those guys is. And if you get it right, then you're going to hit. That's where Kevin Coleman was last year, right?
Right. And to kind of piggyback off that point, I'm a big fan of a late stack because, if you're drafting these quarterbacks late, you're really just looking to capture their ceiling weeks, right? And when are their ceiling weeks going to come? When their wide receiver ceiling weeks also come. So it just makes sense a lot to just kind of make sure that you really, really up the ceiling of your late round quarterbacks by stacking them. And I have a ton of CJ Carr and Jaden Greathouse or Eli Raritan or Malachi Fields. That's kind of been the one that I've been doing that a lot with.
Dude, one of my favorites, man. Especially Malachi Fields. Just because this is a guy that's had 50 receptions and 800 yards and 5 touchdowns the last 2 years. That was at UVA, but that was also with Calandria and the other quarterback that they had there that wasn't very good, Tony Muskett.
Oh, gosh. Yeah,
so CJ Carr is going to be, well, he just went, but he's going to be upgrade over either one of those guys from Malachi. So yeah, big fan.
Well, and another thing too that I think about with the Notre Dame offense is you no longer have the rushing threat of Riley Leonard at quarterback.
Yeah.
So somebody's going all those rushing touchdowns Riley Leonard had. Somebody's going to be getting him. Whether that means CJ Carr is going to be throwing more, or you get more rushing out of Jeremiah Love, or maybe even a Jadarian Price. There's more touchdown share to go around for that Notre Dame offense because I still expect them to be as successful as they were last year.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to a Notre Dame buddy the other day, and he was saying that he thinks that those touchdowns are going to go to Jadarian Price, and he's going to play a little bit more of a role, as a traditional running back, and they're going to split out Jeremiah Love even more, even around the goal line. So that'll be interesting to watch and to see if that actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, Price last year was like I need a 3K running back on DraftKings.
Yeah,
they're gonna score 5 touchdowns. Like, does he happen to find the end zone once? And there were games where he did, and it was absolutely worth it when he did.
Yeah, man, so, Ian Strong falling in this range. I just think it's way too low for him. He's a guy that staff really loves him, and at the end of the year, he was averaging 15 to 20 points a game. Which, if you're going to get him in the 14th, 15th round at this ADP,
that was
it's
even
good value.
with. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get the name wrong. I cannot think of the other Rutgers receiver right now that they had last year.
Yeah, name's escaping me, but Demir Miller.
Yes, Demir Miller. I was about to say Draylon Miller, but no, that's Colorado. Demir Miller. I knew it was D Miller. But yeah, so that you don't even have that competition for targets anymore. So that pick made a lot of sense there. I usually end up on 6 running backs. Do you normally go 6 or 7, I guess?
Yeah, I'm a 6 or 7 depending on the build.
What do you think about ending running back here with Javian Thomas?
That's great. I'm great with doing that. There's so much value at the end of these drafts at the wide receiver position in particular.
Correct. I'm thinking about receiver already. We're going to have the option to stack Blake Shapen with one of his wide receivers later, and maybe one of the others. Maybe not. Maybe there's a late round wide receiver that stands out to us that's not a stack even. But yeah, we've got 5 picks left, and we need to take 2 tight ends and a quarterback and a wideout, and that's 4. Maybe one more after that. So now might be the time to start looking at tight end. I like Roush if he falls to us.
Yeah, my buddy Mike Bainbridge, we also host a podcast together. He talks a lot about looking for tight ends that can lead their room or team in receiving. And Sam Roush is one of those guys. He's identified this year as that guy. So I think that's a smart pick. Traore is a guy that could do that as well. I mean, a lot of targets. Their bye weeks match up, but that's the thing you got to be concerned about.
Yeah,
with going 2 tight ends, right? Make sure that we're not having bye weeks interfere. But those 2 go together well.
I've got a handy little cheat sheet. Mississippi State is 6-12. Stanford is 1-3-11. So yeah, we're good if those end up being our 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
And yeah, because Cam put it in the chat. He says biggest downfall with Roush is 3 buys. Yeah, the tight end position, that's kind of the one that concerns me the most with the 3 buys. But as long as you just do a little bit of research and know who you're picking, I think that can be a way to kind of work it out. And then really, I kind of forgot about the fact that we had Blake Shapen for a second, but Traore stacked with Shapen. That's a really good way to play with late round tight end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not stacking anybody with Sam Roush.
No. Less than 0 interest in that quarterback room.
Yes. Especially with Frank Reich taking over.
Yeah, because Frank Reich, they're going to line up in the I, and they're going to run power, and then they're going to run waggle, and then they're going to run power again. Like, it's just going to be a very, dang it. They took Roush from us.
Oh, there we go.
So,
Olsen Pat Henry's another one that we could go with. I mean, he looks like he's going to be the guy at Clemson. I do worry a little bit about Christian Bentoncourt, but everything I'm reading is that Olsen Pat Henry could be the guy, and I think he's 5-9 are his weeks, so that week's gonna work out.
I got a crazy idea here. It might require a little bit to go in our favor, but what do you think of taking Cook here and then stacking him with Angeli and then hoping to get Traore on the next round?
I like it.
Because there went Cook. We've already got Gill. So Angeli would not be like a completely useless pick right here. Either way.
Yeah.
Dang,
yeah. I like it.
I wonder if JD Gars or whatever, I wonder if he heard that and is like, I can't let them execute that strategy. That'd be too good.
Yeah.
But either way, I would still feel good about taking Traore right here. It kind of just secures it.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, let's get one tight end here.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll have 3 picks left, right? And we can be done at quarterback, or if we want to do what we talked about and go Angeli and Ricky Collins, that's a possibility. It might depend on who's available in that 20th round.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I'd be. I know Collins went to media day, but man, it would be a surprise if Angeli transferred there to go sit on the bench. He could have done that at Notre Dame,
right?
There had to be some sort of, I don't know, some sort of conversation that happened.
It just seems like, there had to be something that would make him want to go there, right?
Yeah. I mean, otherwise he would have gone to Tulane or something like that. I mean, there's other schools you could have gone to that are similar to Notre Dame.
Which brings up a point. Okay, so they still have Retzlaff in the player pool on this. That's interesting.
Yeah, they zeroed him out.
Already drafted him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when they had Calandria. I don't know if they still have Calandria in there.
They did at the start. Yeah.
Did we get his UNLV points? Because that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it says a big old O right there. So,
yeah,
I guess that's indicating points are not counting, y'all.
It indicates, we messed up.
Yeah.
don't take them.
That's the funny part about doing this for college football, though, is you do get those late transfers like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, another thing too, I was really interested to see this summer if DraftKings was going to do best ball for full FBS college football.
Yeah.
Because they have the capability to do that because they have DFS contests with the full FBS. So they have the database. I was very curious to see if they would. They did not. Slightly disappointed, but also not surprised.
I had heard that Underdog might get into that too. Maybe doing full FBS. So there was some conversations.
I would love it. I think if there were an option, it'd be great. Kind of like how Carp does with his Fantrax best balls. You can join the full FBS or you can join the Power 4 only. But having options doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah. I think the concern there is just making sure that they can get all the players in the database.
Right.
Because even here they miss Malachi Tony from Miami. And that's a potentially huge one. I mean, you could be the starting slot receiver.
Right.
From Miami, and the slot in that offense is huge. So yeah, when you're dealing with all FBS, you're really getting into the weeds with some of these guys that they might not know about.
So
you need some good projections if you're going to do that.
For sure. So I'm going to go kind of a little bit off the board here. I want to take Noah Rogers right here.
Yeah.
I just think that NC State offense, I think he's going to be the wide receiver one. Great pedigree, big time recruit. Looked pretty good last year, but it still had Concepcion in the offense. Now Concepcion's gone, and you got another year for CJ Bailey. I think that's a high upside wide receiver one. I really like, in terms of late wide receiver ones, I really like Noah Rogers, and I really like Lewis Bond.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are two really good ones. With Kurt Roper taking over, he's had some good offenses in the past, passing offenses.
And then we were still able to get our guy Pat Henry in the 19th.
There we go.
So we got our tight end, Troy, Pat Henry. And honestly, someone might look at that and say that that's a bad tight end room. I don't think so. Like, I think everybody's only drafting 2 tight ends. We've got bye weeks that do not coincide. They're good. Troy is stacked with our quarterback, could be one of his team's best receivers. Pat Henry, the starter on one of the best offenses in all of college football, that historically uses a tight end. Like, I think those are 2 late round tight ends that could really make up a good tight end room.
Yeah. I mean, are they going to crush it? Maybe not, but they're going to be serviceable for sure. And give us production. It's not, they're going to be non-zeros essentially.
Right. So I've got Brennan Thompson in the queue for Mississippi State, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a guy we need to take, or can we look for a different receiver?
I think we can totally look for a different receiver.
I definitely would say
Traore.
I would feel much better about taking a wide receiver right now than a running back. I don't think these guys are going to add a whole lot to our team at running back. I think wide receiver they could.
Yeah.
Let's throw Bond in there.
Yeah, like you said, Bond. I think Rashid Williams is going to end up as a wide receiver too there at Washington. And I think that offense just has loads of potential. We've seen Jed Fish be able to support 2 wide receivers. I mean, multiple years, including last year with Giles Jackson and Denzel Burke.
Right.
Denzel Burke. Not Denzel Burke. Denzel Boston. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, because Giles Jackson, he was routinely a 7K wide receiver in DFS, just consistent fantasy points.
Yeah.
So if Damon Williams is as good of a passer as Will Rogers was, then it absolutely makes sense that Rashid Williams could have a good year.
Yeah.
So Trell Harris, I've drafted a little bit. Micah Mays, I've drafted a little bit.
Yeah, you worry about that. Wake Forest, if Robbie Ashford's a quarterback or even Purdy. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like a year 0 for them.
I feel much better if it were Purdy taking Micah Mays. Because as a Charlotte grad, I watched a lot of Purdy last year.
Yeah.
And he's skinny as a rail, but he's got it. I just think the dude's going to be really good. And I was really disappointed to see him leave.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about him. I listened to a podcast today, PFF podcast, and they were talking about him having one of the highest turnover play rates. I think it was 8% or something. Did he throw a lot of picks or throw a lot of balls in danger? What was that stat about? Because they seem to make a big deal out of it.
So
is it actually as big of a deal as they're making it out to be?
So let me think the best way to say this. He really, like, that offense relied on him to make things happen.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't say that he was reckless with the ball, but he was aggressive with the ball. Um, there were some ill-advised throws, like, he's a freshman, he's never going to make the right read. But like, that offense did not have an explosive running game. They were downing games a lot. They were really relying on him to kind of make a play. And I think that, yeah, it probably led to a metric to where he had a high turnover, like worthy rate or turnover play rate or whatever. But you never felt like watching him like, oh, this guy sucks. Oh, this guy's a pick machine. Like, it never felt like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be a Cam Ward deal, right? Like Cam
Yeah.
Ward had plenty of turnovers, early on in his career, and then cleaned that up as he got older. So I was just curious because I personally did not watch a lot of Deshaun Purdy.
Well, and
At
also
Charlotte,
too,
so.
Omega Blake was like really the only explosive wide receiver they had. Other than him, they really just had a lot of like just very average guys.
Yeah.
Just very average.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do in that offense at Wake Forest. But yeah, that passing game, I think those wide receivers are talented. But if it's not Purdy, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, because Ashford is he's just a runner.
Yeah.
Like we've seen the Robbie Ashford experiment already, and it wasn't pretty.
Nope, not at all.
All right, so we finished up here. I guess the last pick kind of glitched out, maybe. I don't know. But either way, we got our full board. Like we were talking at the start of the draft, Darius Taylor to start. Love it. Love getting him at pick 3, considering I would probably have picked him at 1. Got our quarterback, Haynes King, in round 2. Love it. Cam Coleman falling to us at 27. Love it. Then that's when things got a little bit off script, but I still really like what we did. Kamari Moulton shoring up that running back room. Marcel Reed getting our second quarterback, and then getting a lot of good wide receiver ones and good offenses. Josh Cameron, Kevin Coleman, another good running back, Dylan Jones, the mobile QB, Kyron Drones, Gideon Davidson, as we talked about on the show earlier, in round 10. And then our late round picks were all guys with upside. We got Darryl Gill stacked with his quarterback, Steve Angeli. We got Jordan Lyle at running back. If he takes over the Miami RB1 role, that's a massive get. And then Blake Shapen at quarterback, stacked with his tight end, Seydou Traore. And then some other late wide receiver ones, Lewis Bond, Noah Rogers, and Ian Strong. So solid roster. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we did here is we went upside.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're trying to do in best ball is you're trying to hit home runs, especially in that 10 to 12 round range where we went Gideon Davidson, Darryl Gill, Jordan Lyle. I mean, if those dudes hit, right, then like that roster, I mean, all those guys could be 20-point fantasy point guys. And so,
right.
And if you're getting that in 10 through 12, that's the type of shots that you want to take.
Well, another thing too, to kind of piggyback off of what we talked about earlier, like if I told you that we drafted Phil Maffa, Trevor Pena, and Damian Martinez in round 10, 11, and 12, you would think that like that would just be insane, right? Well, we got the guys at those 3 positions if they do end up taking over those 3 positions in rounds 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah. And again, these are the type of things, these guys paired with like a Duke Watson. Mm-hmm. These are the type of guys that win this. It's not the guys who you pick rounds 1 through 3. You better hit on those.
Right.
But it's the 10 through 12s, right? And if you hit on those, the question marks, so to speak, that's where you start to cook.
So also too, wanted to point out our guy Colton in the chat. He was in the 11 spot. Isaac Brown, nice. Damon Williams, really solid start. Caden Durham, I still like it. Sadiq as the first tight end, I don't mind that one bit. I think that if there was one tight end, I would take that early. It would be Sadiq. Yep. I have him very minimally, but I do think like that if I was in that spot, I wouldn't have a problem drafting Sadiq. And then he got the more and more stack at Oregon. I like that a lot.
He stacked up that whole Oregon passing game.
Yes.
I like it.
I like that. That's a really good strategy.
Me too.
Especially considering Williams was his first quarterback and Moore was his second. and Lagway was his third. So like you
Yeah.
might not even need Dante Moore every week, and you got his whole passing game stacked. I like that a lot. Katron Allen, Chris Hilton, Trent Walker. Trent Walker's another wide receiver I've taken quite a bit of. And then my Texas guys, Baxter and Moore. No complaints anytime Texas guys are drafted. I am unashamedly a homer. And then CJ Carr with
You see where we got
Jadarius
snapped on Carr.
Yeah. Yeah. Carr with Price and Fields like that a lot. And then he also got the guy we were talking about, Rashid Williams, there at the end, stacked with Damon Williams. So solid draft there, Colton. I like that a lot.
Man, those stacks are pretty sweet.
Yeah. Well, like college, like CFF, you don't really need like all the stacks, but like when you can get it and when it's the right system, it just feels really good.
Yeah, and especially with a guy like Dante Moore, right?
Yes.
He's not going to give you a lot in the running game, so you better stack them. And man, when those hit, Damon Williams and Rashid Williams, that's an awesome stack because you can get it so late in the draft. But you don't have to do that because you can play him naked because he's gonna break the system,
right?
With his abilities, man. I mean, he's crazy.
I like Damon Williams a lot. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's get caught up in the chat here, and then we'll close it out. So Cam says, "What are your thoughts on TE darts on Villari?" Oh, I wouldn't have minded that actually, especially considering that we had Angeli and we had Gill. That wouldn't have been a bad spot. Now, the only thing is I wouldn't expect Villari to come in and beat Arande Gadsden. Like, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation, but we've seen enough of Villari that, like, he's not going to give you a total zero. They use him as a Wildcat quarterback occasionally. There was one bowl game where he started at quarterback, which was atrocious, but that's why he plays tight end. And yeah, I actually think that would not have been a bad late round dart at quarterback. I like the guys we got, but I think that was a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I started him at tight end that week that he was the starting quarterback. I tried to go for it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, let me see if this works out.
Well, I believe in DraftKings that week he was still at tight end. And so you could get like a 3 quarterback build, and it like just seemed like it made so much sense. And then he did next to nothing.
Yeah.
But the good news was he was like so highly owned that like you were just like misery loves company, right? Like everybody else had him. Jeff says, any thoughts on the 8th spot? I think that might be Jeff. If I'm not considering this guy's name is Jeff. So Jeff started with Arch and Hankerson. Solid start. I like Hankerson. I have him ranked ahead of that number 17 number. So getting him to fall
that's a great one.
That's good value. Denzel Boston, really solid wide receiver pick. Austin Simmons, a guy that we were talking, I drafted earlier tonight. Got him stacked with Stribling. Like it a lot. Like Kyson Brown a lot. Concepcion, man, I wish you would have let him fall to me in the next round, but I think he's a solid pick. And then you got injuries stacked with Arch. Rocco Becht, Emmett Mosley stacked with Arch. Duke Watson, like we were talking about. Xavier Townsend, guy that we talked about. Isaiah Horton, guy we talked about. Yeah, that's a solid squad, Jeff. Solid squad. Now, Faison there in round 20 is interesting. So, like, he's the type of guy that if he does get approved from the NCAA, he could be like a league winner. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, it feels pretty slim at this point if he's not already.
Now, I did see the news on Ashton Hawkins today for Baylor getting approved. That's a guy that I'm going to have to add to my rankings. I think he might be like a late round stack with Sawyer Robertson type of guy. But yeah, if Faison gets approved, that's going to be a very good value pick right there.
Yeah, I saw somebody comparing to Tez Walker a couple years ago. They're afraid that might go into the season, so we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, well, and the thing is with Tez Walker was it took like 3 or 4 weeks to get him approved, and he was great once he got approved.
Yeah.
So, if you're drafting Faison in the 20th round and you feel good about your running back room that you can make do for a few weeks, and then he gets approved, then, hey, maybe it all works out.
Yep.
And he already had Hankerson and Kyson Brown and Daniel Highshaw. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up here, Josh?
No, I think that's it. This was fun to draft and come on and do this, and always fun to talk ball. I can't believe that training camp is is here, right? Guys
Right.
are. We got pictures of CJ Baxter and his bulky brace today, which I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie, that hurt my feelings a little bit.
A little bit.
I was like, man, that. Oh yeah. So we'll see. But training camp is here, so we actually get news. We've been drafting off of 2 months old news basically, and
Right.
summer workouts with sources and insiders, and so it's nice to actually get some movement, hopefully in the ADP and some rankings. See guys go up or down rankings.
Yeah, now that like there's the news coming out and it feels real now, right? Like it feels like it's starting to arrive. We're kind of at like a slight dead zone on the sports calendar where, it's just kind of baseball and golf. And now we've got training camp and we're only a few weeks away from it starting. And it's going to be really fun, going to be a great season.
Yeah, man, that first week, I mean, not week 0, but the actual week 1, we have Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame. I mean, that first weekend, I know there's been some good first weekends, but this feels like a really good first weekend.
100% agree, because sometimes it kind of feels like week 1 gets here and it's like, wait a minute, this is what we've been waiting all that time for, right? And this year, it feels like there are some games that are going to have postseason implications on week 1. And that is just really cool to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, this season, I do think there's like downsides to NIL and the transfer portal and all of that. But
it's
one
not
of the
a perfect
upsides,
system.
no, definitely not. There are lots of flaws. But I will say the parity that has come into the sport, as at least there's some democratization. I love seeing that, man. Like there's so many different teams that could pull it out, or Ohio State lose to Michigan and still make the playoffs. And truly, I think the best team won last year because we had a system that allowed that to happen. So I think it's fun, man. There's a lot of talking points for those of us that do content.
For sure. And very natural segue. Before you go, Josh, where can the people find more content from you?
Yeah, I'm over at fantasypoints.com. We are mainly an NFL site, but I run the college side of things. We do anything from DFS to betting to CFF content, projections, rankings, all that stuff. So that's the easiest place to find me, and at CFF guys on X, as is right here.
You're a humble man, Josh, because I got to tell you, the Fantasy Points College Football podcast that you do with Froton and Bainbridge, I believe it to be the best in the business among a bunch of guys that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about. I listen to it every week. It's appointment listening. And like you guys over at Fantasy Points, you got a lot of ball knowers. So just very good work you guys do over there.
Look, man, the secret is to hire people that are smarter than you. And,
right.
It works out well.
Yeah, it's never like somebody once told me, like, if you look around the room and you're not the smartest person in it, then that's the right room to be in. Or it might be the other way around, where like if you look around the room and you are the smartest person, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, exactly right. I love to put people around me that are better than me at things. So it's good. I'm excited that I get to work with the guys that I do.
Absolutely. All right, so that is going to wrap us up here, guys. Like we said, go check out the Fantasy Points College Football podcast. Go follow Josh on Twitter. Give him some love because he knows ball and his whole crew knows ball. And make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel because we're going to be doing some more of these best ball drafts before the season starts. And then once the season starts, it's going to be your weekly DFS shows like we got here for the past 3 seasons now. So, yeah, I had an absolute blast doing this, Josh. I know last year we did the Fantrax Best Ball Show. I had a blast then too, but it was definitely cool now to do like one like live as opposed to just talking about players.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's always fun coming on with you, Mike. I think we have some good chemistry, and yeah, it's fun to do shows with guys that know what they're talking about and are really good at what they do. So thanks, man.
For sure. There's also the Texas connection there too. Doesn't hurt.
ATX, baby.
All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up. Thank you guys for tuning into the live show tonight. Best of luck to you guys in your Underdog best ball drafts. And like I said, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we will be coming at you with more this summer. But you guys take care and we will see you next time.